The Poppy Playtime franchise does a lot right, that's why it went viral after all. But even I, one of the self-proclaimed biggest Poppy Playtime fans from around the world, will admit there are some things they could maybe do better. I'm Kirbyster and here are 50 things wrong with the Poppy Playtime franchise, mainly in my opinion, don't take anything too personally. Chapter 1 of the series was originally a paid standalone experience that offered less than 45 minutes of actual gameplay. This got the franchise off on the wrong foot for a lot of players, and I remember a lot of people calling it an overhyped tech demo rather than a full first installment. Obviously, Mob Games went back on this and made the first installment free. The player character never speaks or reacts to anything happening around them, even if they're witnessing someone being killed. This creates a massive emotional disconnect between the player and the character we're controlling. Major chase sequences don't allow for dynamic player choice or a lot of adaptation. A lot of sequences have a strict, rigid, scripted path, and if you miss a single turn, it results in an instant death. Mainly toward the start of the franchise, but also kind of to this day, major background context and story are hidden behind complex ARGs which I could just never follow. Some character details and story hints have also been hidden behind paywalls like NFTs in the past as well. The game sometimes struggles with its core identity. It attempts to be an intensely dark body horror experience while simultaneously featuring bright, hyper-marketable, kid-friendly mascot designs. More often than not, they find a way to make it work, but there are some times when the two tones directly conflict rather than complement each other. In a lot of the games, the hands of the grab pack frequently clip through solid walls or get caught on random pieces of the environment. This can get you soft-locked and is also a constant break in immersion. The puzzles in Chapter 1 go from incredibly easy to massively hard. And this one puzzle in particular from Chapter 1, hitboxes for some of the jump scares are wildly inconsistent, like the original prototype jump scaring you from the other end of a train carriage. How would the musical memory game work during the day? If it worked as intended, children and guests of Playtime Co would be in this area, but I don't know how this game would work for multiple people. It was incredibly difficult to see during the Wacka Wuggy minigame in Chapter 2. You either had to wear headphones and crank the volume to max or turn up the brightness and alter a ton of settings just to be able to see and hear what was happening around you. Whenever I'm playing Chapter 2 these days, I always just think, Wacka Wuggy's coming up. Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 got a lot of flack when it first came out for having what are essentially very easy concepts in their games, like Red Light, Green Light or Simon Says. I don't know, again I think it fits the atmosphere and they made it work. What can I say, maybe I've been blinded by nostalgia. Major gameplay mechanics like the purple hand in Chapter 3 are heavily spotlighted for a few specific puzzles and then completely discarded later in the series. Dying during certain major scripted boss sequences forces the player to sit through lengthy, unskippable dialogue loops. The amount you have to drop before receiving full damage is wildly inconsistent. The gas mask in Chapter 3 was wildly underused considering it was the only thing we knew about the game for so long. A lot of the menus and inventories feel very underdeveloped. Hitbox detection for grabbing distant power outlets and switches can sometimes feel very unresponsive, sometimes requiring pixel perfect accuracy. Most major boss encounters boil down to just a chase sequence. I don't mind this, but especially for some of the sequences like Yarnaby and Huggy, let me see the villain, I'm running away from them, they aren't even on my screen. Chapter 4 tried to adapt this by having a full-on doughy boss battle, but that has its own flaws. Safe combination codes and puzzle hints are usually only a few feet away from their puzzle. Like just before the Mummy Longlegs chase in Chapter 2 when you're figuring out the wires, only to grab back up and realise the answer is right there. Moving slightly too fast during a chase sequence can completely break the game. Sometimes it can softlock you and sometimes it can be used to your advantage. The story depends far too heavily on finding random cassette tapes. Usually they're conveniently scattered on the floor just a few feet away from VHS players. Shifting the primary setting from a unique toy factory to an underground orphanage was really jarring. It's one of my biggest gripes with Chapter 3. Oftentimes, the lack of a manual save system and poorly spaced autosaves means that a random glitch could force you to redo massive sequences and parts of the game. There were very few hints about the prototype in the first 4.5 chapters of the game, and then it immediately spikes by revealing them. It seems like there could have been a bit more of a build-up, or at least a consistent build-up. Poppy's personality changes a lot, like we still don't have a reason about why they sounded all evil in that monologue at the end of Chapter 2. Some of the lore logs and medical descriptions detailing the graphic torture of orphan children are dialed up to an extreme degree just to sound edgy. Ollie's cheerful, energetic voice completely shatters the isolation of Chapter 3. Secondary villains like Mr. Light are introduced, given their own chase, and then killed off in minutes. Kissy Missy has followed us for most of the game, and we still know barely anything about them. To actually stop what you're doing and listen to a VHS tape you've discovered forces you to stand there for sometimes minutes. The natural flow is completely paused. Some of the jump scares just aren't scary at all. Like when all the nightmare critters jump up on you and it just doesn't even kill you or damage you or anything, it's just annoying. By trying to explain the monster creation process with real scientific and biological jargon, it strips away some of the supernatural allure and mystery of these characters. Some of the toys look very clean despite being here for 10 years or sometimes even more than that. The size the underground has gotten is just unbelievable. There are chasms, caves and a vast abyss. It's just so big now. Sometimes being told philosophical speeches from tiny toys doesn't have the effect I think they want it to. The lore contains dozens of workers' names, experiment numbers and executive titles that it's easy to lose track, and it turns casual players away. Large chunks of every chapter rely on generic hallways that look very similar. Part of it is an aesthetic thing, but some feel like they're just there to pad out the game's runtime. Navigating certain areas that aren't lit very well feels like a challenge. Chapter 1, 2, 3 and 4 launched with severe frame rate stuttering and optimization issues. It's the same with the spin-off Project Playtime. By the time these games get massive patches, most people have already played or seen their favourite YouTuber play it. Again, it breaks the franchise's reputation a little bit. Moving between some major zones triggers a loading screen that breaks immersion and can sometimes take a while. Pop in. The physical architecture makes no sense, like hallways, doors and control buttons that are meant for staff that are scaled up to massive heights. Some of the areas of Playtime Co. I cannot imagine actually being functional day to day. The red smoke in Chapter 3 sometimes has lighting issues and doesn't render properly. Doughy's boss jump scare is so unintimidating. It's by far the least scariest jump scare in the entire franchise, in my opinion. Sometimes the subtitles don't match up with what's being said on screen. By Chapter 3, the Toy Factory aesthetic has actually largely been lost, in favour of hospital, school and asylum layouts that feel a bit more generic. Sometimes the ambient factory music cuts to silence before something scary happens. This can spoil the timing a little bit. The level design is often highly restrictive. Invisible walls, one-way paths. There are large parts of these games where there is little incentive to explore, or even the possibility to. After hours of terrifying build-up, some bosses are taken down with a simple QuickTime event, like tiny actions or sometimes even one button press. And those are 50 things, some are worse than others. I actually had a bit of trouble putting this list together, and that's a good thing. Like I said, I'm a massive Poppy Playtime fan. I didn't mean anything in like a malicious way. When I was putting the list together, a lot of it relied on community feedback, meaning a lot of these points aren't just my opinion. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the amazing Kirby's to Plays channel members Austin, Karina, Maria, Sean, Hannah and Vivo. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. I would love it if you did. I'm Kirby's to Plays, bye.